everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Unfiltered Wrestling. As by I'm joined by Tim. Hi, Tim. How you doing, mate?
Good morning, sir. I'm not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Seems really weird. I felt like we spent so much time together last weekend, and I feel like I've hardly seen you this week. So how you been?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I've enjoyed a bit of a break from so much wrestling, is what I can say. Although I did on Tuesday get a little bit. Do I need to watch NXT as a follow up? But I kept away from that one.
No, well done. Some sort of breaking news today. Obviously, Karrion Kross, his contract, we knew that was expiring today, but he's actually been put on Tumini page on the WWE roster. He's no longer an active superstar. What's your thoughts about this?
I think he'll come back. I think they'll come to some sort of negotiation. He is worth too much money to them in the long term if they're prepared to invest. I watched the video this morning talking about Paul Heyman saying how good a worker he is. And if Paul Heyman's fighting your corner, you're already onto a bit of a winner.
Yeah, and I think this can shoot back to that sort of shoot work interview that happened at the beginning of the year. No, Karrion Kross got a book tour coming up. Maybe they've done this to sort of buzz around that. He was getting We Want Kross chants at the SummerSlam after show thing. So, yeah, maybe this is sort of a working into a shoot. Because obviously we know for a fact his contract's up. But we know WWE lately, they do start to bring this into storylines sometimes.
Yeah, I think he's going to take a bit of a break. Again, I've seen interviews where he actually doesn't have any, he's not gone under the knife for surgery, for injuries. He's let it heal almost holistically. So give him some time off, let him go and promote his book. I'd look at probably bringing him back after Survivor Series.
I think they might go longer. I think he might be a Royal Rumble surprise entrant. Like a number 30 or something.
Yeah, that works. I don't think, as I say, I don't think you bring him back any sooner. The pop he'll get when he comes back will be great. If he was to then help Sammy win the Rumble, I think you'd have another great story there.
Yeah, that's a very good idea, actually. I didn't think of that. So that's Karrion Kross news. Moving into SmackDown and Raw action. We had the first week of face John Cena.
Welcome back, John, is what I can say to that. The fact he talked to the cameraman, he did his run down to the ring, his promo was back to his best. And we know what Canadian crowds can be like. They can be very unpredictable at the best of times. They were all over him. He was very well received.
Yeah, it was a great pop. I think a good start to the promo addressing the Brock thing, basically saying he's ready to face Brock whenever Brock's ready. As we know, Brock being a part-timer, that just leaves that sitting on the burner to whenever they want to pull the trigger. If they decide to pull the trigger, I really hope they don't. But address that situation. And then obviously Logan Paul coming out. This really confuses me because at SummerSlam he's being used as an influencer, and now all of a sudden he's shot back up into the main event scene. This looks like this is just a little program for obviously Clash in Paris, and we're only 2.5 weeks away from that. So a nice short program.
Yeah, I think Logan will carry John through. You and I both have the same feeling about Logan Paul. Great athlete, absolutely amazing heel. Can't believe he's just so good as he is. I think it'll be an all right match. I would be curious to see how that works. I mean, and using Logan Paul as almost like your first heel persona will almost certainly mean that John won't get booed. This is a guaranteed pop. To go back to the Brock thing, I don't know how we manage this. If they're going to hold it out to a bigger event, and let's say Crown Jewel in Australia, which would probably be the sensible one, I think you've got to be very careful, very, very careful, because the lawsuit says there's more information coming out at some point.
And yeah, this is why I think in a way they are holding off, because obviously it ain't as clear cut as people assumed.
No, but it is worth mentioning again, he's not being charged or any criminal knowledge. It's that he was involved in this. There's no There's no criminal activity involved. It's just the implication. It's the optics of what people will see WWE like. I think that is where they've missed it.
Also, obviously, we had the news that for America, PLEs are moving back in a way to a pay-per-view subscription model in 2026. Do you think, obviously, that's the reason why they brought Brock out at SummerSlam?
I'm not sure you would bring Brock out for this negotiation. You got to remember, ESPN is owned by Disney, and this, as a result, could be very murky. I would, if I was like ESPN, I'd have probably said, put him back in his box for a little bit. Let's just wait for this to be finished.
And that's maybe the reason why John obviously said, when you're ready, I'm ready to fight you. Because maybe it has to be put on a back burner because of ESPN might have stepped in and said, well, actually, no.
Well, it came out that all this time since obviously he was going to make an appearance at Rumble 2024, he's been paid for the last 18 months without ever appearing. And bearing in mind the amount of people that have been cut because of this.
Yeah, I just think sometimes it's not even worth the headache over one guy. I don't think the WWE universe is going to be too disappointed if we don't see Brock ever again.
No, I'm with you. But going back to Cena, he was at his best again, I think. And this overshadows his whole heel run. We could have had this John Cena for the last 5 months and we could have had so much fun. This is my biggest concern.
Yeah. See, the issue I've got with the heel ending is the way they did it. Like, I know John come out and said done it for Shock TV and all that stuff, but the fact is you went with it, you done it, you should have ended it off a bit better than just a promo and I'm now super face again. Luckily, in the way it is with John, and people are going to forget, okay, people are going to recognise, okay, they tried something, it didn't work, but it sort of devalues heels in the future now.
You've got to be careful. Those people that do turn heel need to have a really legitimate reason, and there needs to be some solid build-up. Because this is the one thing when we look at the main event scene, there aren't a great deal of heels at the top.
Well, Seth's champ, Drew,
only just getting back up there.
Yeah.
Now name the next that isn't the Vision.
Yeah. You can't put Logan in that category yet. Logan is a good heel, but he's not a main event heel.
No, and that's your biggest concern. I think we're seriously lacking some quality heel like talent, main event talent. Yes, Seth's on top, but even then he still elicits quite a lot of cheers to start his promos off, and then it'll drift in and out. So I'm still not convinced he's a full heel. McIntyre's the same. As much as people are booing him, he still gets cheered from time to time. So I think you need some really good, solid heels.
I think the only problem now, obviously, with the internet and all these documentaries, because Unreal did lift the lid, but there's been other documentaries that sort of I felt like lifted the lid pretty much the same. When we've had like 24 hours at SummerSlam and all this stuff, people then start to like people outside of their character, so you're never going to get that full hated heel anymore. Like you're never going to get that full hate, like you're never going to get that full loved babyface anymore. I think where the internet and these documentaries muddy the water, because of like you said, people booing heel John Cena as a heel on Raw and SmackDown, but then he'll be in an interview going, I'm not going to talk about the product on TV, this film I'm doing, and then people like John Cena the actor. So you're never going to get that full person who's 100% hated or 100% loved, because the access to that person is not just their character anymore. And I think we're never going to get back to that era of pure baby faces and pure heels.
And I think you're right to a point. My exception to that rule is Cody Rhodes is quite clearly pure babyface. I know there is a section in the internet that think he needs to turn heel. My words to them is, don't let that happen yet. He's just the most purest babyface we've had. He's up there with early John Cena, probably Rock Attitude Era, that level of a pure babyface, I don't think, as you say, I don't think we'll see anybody else, which is the reason why when I see these reports that Cody's considering turning heel and things like that, he's wrong. He prints money for the company, and that is the only reason they never turned John Cena heel back then. So, yeah, I'm with you. I do think that there is a bit of a grey area in heels and faces, but you still need a heel at the top of the card for it all to work.
Yeah, and talking about heels, obviously, as we said, Logan came out and then Drew came out for a surprise attack, which then set up the tag team match at the end of the night. I think this was a good little ending.
Say is, what a Claymore kick by Drew at the end of that match. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Cody ends up with some form of a light concussion, because that was hard hitting.
Yeah, the fact that the commentary table didn't break around him, just splintered that bottom, that whole visual was great.
I remember watching it first time thinking, well, that wasn't gimmicked. I think as I've got used to it, I wouldn't be surprised if it was gimmicked in a way, but it looked good enough that it wasn't a big problem.
And that match obviously seems to be setting up a Cody Drew feud, which is really good as well. Like SmackDown to me, and bits of Raw felt like new stories were opening, and that's really good to see. Do you think this is the right feud for Cody as he's rerun as champ? And do you think Drew's the right guy for this?
Yes and yes. I think this is going to be a feud. I don't think this is going to be a one PLE feud. I think we'll take this up to probably Survivor Series. If they were really clever, they could probably stretch it out to the Rumble. But if you stretch it out to the Rumble, then Drew has to beat Cody for the belt.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I think this shouldn't be a short feud, and I'm glad it is Drew. I think it obviously helps elevate Drew, and he's a workhorse. We know Cody's a workhorse. I think these two are going to gel really good together. Talking about champions, over on Raw we had Seth. I'm revealing his plan B. Now, the flaw in this, I think, is obviously he said only two people knew about it, his wife and the Oracle, Paul Heyman. Could put a little text because he didn't tell the rest of the division. And as we said previously over the last 2 or 3 weeks, Bron Breakker has been really stepping into that spotlight. To have Seth sort of come back and overmind him already could put a lot of tension in, which could be good for the storyline. But is this all too early to start putting tension in that faction?
No, I don't think so. I think this is the perfect time. And if you're going to tell a story, and hypothetically, let's say they can stretch it out for 18 months, which would be the perfect amount of time to get a Bron Seth for the world title at Mania, like in 2027, that would be where I would pitch it. I think you need to slowly drip it in. And again, he doesn't need to say anything now, because this is knowledge that we'll get this week, but he doesn't need to reference this for another 4 months, and then we get another slow drip. And then we get another slow drip. Think the Batista Evolution face turn. That took months. WWE are now prepared to spend more time telling stories. So let's let them drip a little bit in there now. Let's drip them in a little bit later.
And this is something we know about. Obviously, I texted you the week and showed you Paul Heyman on our real show. And we know Paul Heyman likes long-term storytelling. The Bloodline was a 5-year story. So we know if Paul Heyman's involved, this could be an 18-month to a 3-year program. Obviously, another thing I mentioned to you is the fact they seem to be heading with Roman Reigns Seth. I think, like I said to you the week, this could be a long feud. I don't know if it's the right feud for them to have.
So I'm with you. I think it could be, but I think it's going to be a short-term feud. Obviously, Roman's been confirmed for Clash in Paris. So they're going to get him on the card. Unless we get a tag match with him, Punk and LA Knight versus the Vision, I can't see him taking Seth on yet, but I'd build that up. I've said to you before, I think we're going to get a Rollins Punk WrestleMania match for the title. I think that's where you go with that. For me, is the right story. if you're going to do that, then you do Reigns, Rollins at the Rumble.
Yeah, no, I think for Reigns we're going to get trainers on a pole match. And him versus Bronson Reed for all his trainers back. The Shula Fowler.
The Shula Fowler and the Tribal Thief.
Yeah,
I have to say, I love this. I think Bronson Reed's character development is brilliant. I love this. Perfect for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he needed something because obviously Seth, Bron Baker was like being elevated next, and he sort of felt like a side piece. The fact that he's got his own little couple of gimmicks now, that he's going to be known as the man that nicks the trainers, and he's the tribal thief, I think really helps elevate his character, and he's playing well into it. So I think it was a good shout. To me, it sounds like a Paul Heyman idea, which is, we know Paul Heyman's a genius. So yeah, perfect for the group.
I think Roman's got to have also signed up on it. So the fact that he gets a Roman seal of approval obviously works as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think Reigns gets a lot more say-so as well with a lot of things, which he deserves.
Yeah, I agree. For carrying the company for so many years. What that then takes us to, and I'm going to quickly flip, we're going to go to the women's division, and I'll link from Seth to Becky. It looks like we're going to get a new feud for the Intercontinental title with Nikki Bella. What's your thoughts on that promo?
I'm really confused. So I've watched clips of Nikki and Bree's podcast, and Nikki said after Evolution that one of her boob implants moved to under her rib, and she was going to need surgery, but she was going to hold off till this run was done because she didn't want to have to take time off. But I don't see her being able to get into a big feud with Becky if you've got an implant that's sort of in your rib cage. So I'm really confused by what I heard her say after Evolution to what's happening now. I like Nikki, but I don't like Nikki as a single person. I think the Bella Twins are the Bella Twins. So I don't know if this is a good thing. It's good, obviously, to get Becky away from Liva, because that's been going on for months. And who do you put in that spot? Nikki's a well-known name, just doing other things, so she's bringing eyes onto the product. So I think it's a good short feud, but I don't know if this should be a long-term plan. I don't think it will be.
No, I imagine they'll probably, if they wrestled it in Paris, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think that'll be it. I think we're going to get a one and done feud. It was the implication of John Cena's relationship that had my eyes raising, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, that would have had to have been signed off by everyone. But I think maybe Nikki and John are at that point now where they've moved past it, and they're business people. I think they know that would bring attention, and that gets people like us speaking, and that would have gone around the internet. And I think they're savvy enough to, whatever personal feelings they've got, know it's right for business. They've grown up in the business. So I think if it was a younger superstar, that probably wouldn't be right. But I think Nikki's got the business sense to think, yeah, this will do something and this will help out.
I agree. And as I said, I expect Becky to retain on this one. While we're talking about the women's Intercontinental, we also had the Bayley-Lyra interaction, which I thought was really clever, both saying, look, we need to just separate. I don't hate you. I don't like you. We just need to think. It was the Bayley vortex. This, for me, means either Bayley's going to turn heel or we are literally going to separate them for a little while.
Yeah, but I also think they're going to separate for a little while, but they've left enough room for them to come back round to each other if they need to fall back on it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't mind either way. I think it works either way.
And also, on Raw, what we said last week they need to do, they're still playing into the rear EO can't defeat me thing, which I think is a good long-term storytelling. I think it's what them two needed if they're going to stay in a program together.
I agree, absolutely. What I would suggest, though, we look at how we can make improvements. Like, let's imply this every so often, but let's not go too much involved.
Do you reckon they're going to do a match at Paris or keep it for Australia?
Australia, but I don't even think you keep that far. I think you go to a big main event.
Right, keeping with the women's division, we had that rematch with the Judgment Day and Alexa and Charlotte, What do you think of the match? Do you think it was the right time to do a rematch instantly?
Yeah, I think it was a great time to do the rematch. Both teams looked really well. They came out. Adam Pearce was very busy on Raw, keep making matches, especially title matches. So I was pleased. I think the right team won. We're telling good stories. Charlotte is almost coming into her own more and more on a weekly basis on the camera.
She's giving me Mick Foley vibes within this group. It's very rock and sock connection for me, and that was good comedy gold. But it also helps elevate her character. Like we've said before, this is a side of Charlotte we need to see so fans can connect with her.
Yeah, I'm with you. Again, if this doesn't lead to like a WrestleMania match, then let's just keep this partnership going for a very long time.
Hopefully that they stick with the long-term storytelling, because I think this is a group that you need to keep together for a while, but WWE can get trigger happy and they can end things very quickly, and it's something I hope they don't do.
No, I'm with you on that front.
About Charlotte and Alexa, it was Alexa's birthday on SmackDown. Charlotte threw this big party thing, and then we had Chelsea Green show up. Again, being a Canadian woman, do you think this was the right person to put in at this segment?
Yeah, Chelsea Green maximises the amount of time she's on screen. Whatever she's doing, she's brilliant at it. So for me, this is a winner. She'll also do almost anything on screen. If that Unreal documentary showed me something, it showed me that Chelsea Green is the best team player you can get. So as soon as you saw the cake, you thought somebody's going to get pie-faced. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, it's got to be Chelsea Green. It's got to be Chelsea Green. And it's the right way to do it.
Talking about that, I found a video online this week of Chelsea Green versus Penta in Lucha Underground. And it wasn't a great match. Like Penta was giving her those chops and all that stuff. And for an intergender match, it was a bit uncomfortable to watch. But just as you said, it just shows how much of a team player Chelsea Green is. To go in to a match with someone like Penta and take those chops and stuff like that and those moves, I'll be honest, it was a little bit uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. But at no point should we ever feel 100% comfortable with that. Penta is a hard style wrestler, and Chelsea Green, as I say, she bumps around for anybody. So she makes almost anyone look great.
So in the women's division, we had a Tiffany and Jade interaction. After their match at SummerSlam, how do you think this went?
It felt awkward. We actually managed to go between 4 different wrestlers in this. You start with Tiffany, then you go to Jade, and then you go from Jade to Julia, and then you go from Julia to Michin, all within a 2-minute segment. I don't think this does any of the women any good. I've said my views. Julia is a fantastic wrestler. Why is she not being used on the show more? And the WWE women's division on SmackDown feels a little bit stagnant. So I think we need to mix that up.
So on Raw, we had obviously the New Day popping up with another brilliant segment. They're starting to grow on me again. They went for a stage where I didn't like them on the heel turn, but then with their comedy, they are starting to grow on me again.
Yeah, and for me, it's the veil that Kofi wears and the biggest hat you've ever seen in your entire life. That was great fun. Yeah, can't argue. They obviously interfered with the Grayson Waller Penta match, which is definitely worth a watch. If nothing else, to watch the very modified Mexican Destroyer delivered to Grayson Waller. But I think New Day, they're telling a good enough story that we can almost forget the fact that Raw's tag team division is a mess.
Do you think as well that's why they're sort of putting with Grayson Waller and doing these little funny segments just to sort of keep the tag team division visible, but they don't know what they're doing with them yet, so just waiting until they come up with a better plan?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like that. I think they're unsure.
And then obviously on SmackDown, we had the Motor City Machine Guns fed to the MFT. It was quite a solid performance, but do you think this was a right?
I love the Motor City Machine Guns. They're great. My biggest concern is, did it have to be them? Somebody had to be fed to MFT to start building them up. I'm just ashamed it was Motor City Machine Guns. It could have been anyone. That MFT needed a tag win. It probably legitimises them a little bit more, so I can't argue with that.
But I was thinking, and Motor City Machine Guns are like the vintage tag team. A loss like that don't really harm them, where it could have done with a newer team. So I think that was the right move. This obviously then led into Solo cutting a hideous promo saying he doesn't want to wrestle in the town, which brought out another Canadian, Sammy. Thank God it wasn't Jacob. I was so scared during the whole time Solo was speaking that Jacob's music was going to hit.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was like, oh God. And then unfortunately I thought, oh, if it's not Jacob, it's going to be Jimmy. Oh, and I thought, I don't want to see any of these guys get in the ring for a while together. Sammy was the right idea, especially it not being a title match, although surprise roll-up was a bit of a rubbish ending, if I'm honest.
Yeah, like I said, the shenanigans, I think that was just, and the commentary mentioned it was just a call back to Pat Patterson because they was in Canada. So I think it was just a little tribute. I don't think it was. And I think if you'd won a title like that, it would have been a bit more disappointing than in a non-title match.
Yeah, I agree.
Talking about general managers as well, both Adam and Nick seem to be very erratic this week, just throwing impromptu matches together willy-nilly. And it feels like still we're having a lot of cross-branding. Do you think this is the way it's going to head for the rest of the year until they decide if they're going to...
There was talk of a draft being after SummerSlam. I don't know whether they've shelved that idea for a while or whether we go back to this transfer window situation again. I don't mind the general manager making impromptu title matches. It's as long as we've got a story behind it. We had that for the Raw side, gave really good answers. And obviously, Nick Aldis and Chelsea Green's interaction is always brilliant. I don't really want them to move Chelsea Green off SmackDown because of it.
Before we wrap up, we've got to mention the biggest return, to me, of the year, and that's the return of R-Truth. Just before the John Cena main event match, we finally got the face Cena and R-Truth interaction where R-Truth said he was back and John said, it's good to see you. I know you went on a mad 5 months. I love this interaction and I really am hoping and praying that he feeds into John's end.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to see this once more time. Let's have a little bit more fun with it. My highlights that we haven't mentioned was the Sheamus Rusev match or fight that went straight across. I've been having a conversation.
It was a 3-hour brawl, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I liked it. I think that gives a lot of story. My brother said to me, I don't know why we're continuing on with this. So I was like, I think there's some more mileage left in it. Plus, what you've got to realise is once Rusev's done with Sheamus, who's going up against next? We need to keep the momentum for Rusev to start building him up to some sort of title challenge, I think.
Because the only sort of bigger guys you've got on the roster is Bon and Bronson, but they're tied up elsewhere. So I think you've got to keep these two going. They're good chemistry together. I liked the brawl throughout each segment. There'd be a little backstage interaction, then all of a sudden a bit of a brawl. I liked that idea. It weren't just they had a fight, everyone got split apart, and we forgot about it the rest of the night. So yeah, I'm all for these guys brawling throughout every segment of Raw and SmackDown now to the end of the year.
Yeah, and the other one that's definitely worth a mention, but it's not a highlight so much, is we now have 4 El Grande Americanos. Yeah, this story's getting really silly now.
It reminds me of so much of Doink the Clowns and Dink the Clowns and the Kings with Jerry the King Lawler, a little throwback to the 90s. Yeah, I don't think it's got its place in modern day wrestling. It's a fun idea, but it's getting, yeah, like you said, it's getting too much.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Tim, what did you think of both shows overall this week?
It's been a really good week coming out of SummerSlam. I think both shows have really progressed and given us new stories, so I'm really positive about it all.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And as by ever, Tim, we need a Tim's top talent. So, Tim, who's your top talent of the week?
We're going to roll with it, and we're going to say John Cena again. I love seeing his promo. Bring him back. I want some more.
Yeah, no, can't say anything against that. Well, Tim, thank you again so much for your time this week, and I will catch you Tuesday for our question.
Yeah, Lee, I'll see you Tuesday.